Hello, Shockers, and welcome to another episode of Shock Talk Career Chats, a collaboration between the Wichita State University Alumni Association and the Shocker Career Accelerator. Today, we have 6 alumni from 3 various breweries around Wichita to talk about their careers, their passions, how they got there, and what you can do to pursue the same career path. So without further ado, I want to bring my guests on so they can introduce themselves and we can get this conversation started. Welcome, everyone, to our career chat. Thank you guys for joining us and taking the time out of your busy days to share with us a little bit about the brewing industry and kind of how you got involved in that. So if we could just go around and introduce ourselves, I'll go ahead and start with you, Augustine and Bianca.
I'm Augustine Iacopelli, and this is my wife, Bianca, and we have, in terms of our background, certainly no background in brewing for us, but my undergraduate degree was not from WSU. It was from another university in meteorology, of all things. And then I went to Wichita State for my master's in business, graduated from there in 2006.
I'm Bianca Iacopelli. I also have 2 degrees. My first degree is in biology and chemistry. And my second degree I earned from Wichita State in 2011. I earned a bachelor's in accounting.
Yeah, Andy Boyd here, Central Standard. I got a degree in entrepreneurship in the at Wichita State, and I handle kind of the operations side of the brewery here.
Ian Crane, Central Standard Brewing, and I'm head brewer and owner, one of the owners here at CSB. I went to Wichita State University and with a communications degree, emphasis in broadcast journalism, electronic media.
Very cool. And BJ and Rick?
You gonna go? Go for it. All right. I'm BJ Hunt, and my undergrad is in elementary ed and early childhood from Wichita State, and did an executive MBA at Friends after that. So as you can see, it's definitely pertains to our company that we're working with now.
And my name is Rick Goehring. I'm the head brewer, one of the owners here at Walnut River Brewing. And my undergrad degree is actually just in general studies, although most of it was spent in computer and electrical engineering.
Very good, guys. Thank you all for, again, taking the time and introducing yourselves. Obviously, there's a vast different degrees. That's kind of one of the neat things about some of these career chats that we do is not always are you working in the exact field that you thought you'd be in. So with that kind of being said, how did you guys get into brewing and kind of what has interested you about the profession?
Ian and I got into brewing just through home brewing at home. We were doing that for about 10 years before we opened up here, and just kind of found a real passion for craft beer and decided to give it a go, and kind of helped having that entrepreneurship background from Wichita State, turning that dream into a reality. So.
Yeah, while we were in college at WSU, we were actually brewing a lot of beer together. And, some of my projects that I was working on were instructional videos. And so, I not only was home brewing with Andy back then, but we were teaching students that we had, at least in my classes at WSU, how to brew beer, So I'd put together a video, and Andy would do some instructional stuff. I'd record the video, and then I'd share it with my fellow students at WSU. So we were teaching them how to brew, or at least have an enthusiasm about it as well.
That's awesome. Who else? Anyone else like to share about how they kind of got their passion for the profession?
So background is family business was a daycare center with a couple hundred kids, and I enjoyed that. I was there 18 years. There was a point, though, where I just needed my parents to be my parents and not my boss. And so I ended up talking to Jeremy Johnson from grad school. He's over at Johnson's Garden Center. And I told him, I said, I want to leave the family business don't know what I want to do, but I'm pretty good at drinking beer. So he said, you need to meet this guy, Rick, in El Dorado. He makes good beer. And I was like, I'll try it. I bet his beer sucks. I'll try it. Well, it didn't suck, obviously. It's actually a very good beer. And Rick was looking for a business guy, and I was looking for somebody who could brew great beer. So just kind of a great match.
Yep, and I spent about 25 years in the IT business, and it was kind of the same thing every day. But I spent my weekends out in the garage making beer, and my wife one day says, "Hey, you look so happy when you're making beer, but you look so sad when you have to go to work on Monday morning. So why don't you look into what it would take to open a brewery?" And of course, I'm like, "Okay, but remember, this was your idea." So yep, I spent the next several years just developing skills, learning as much as I possibly could. And of course, trying to find somebody who knew how to run a business rather than make beer, because I wanted to make the beer, not necessarily run the business. And luckily, I met BJ along the way, and here we are.
Very cool. Augustine and Bianca, you guys want to wrap this up?
Our story is somewhat similar to Ian and Andy's in that I've been brewing now for half my life. I got started when I was in college and really enjoyed brewing. And I think Bianca basically wanted to kick me out of the house in terms of brewing. And so here we are.
That's not entirely true.
Not entirely true. There's a couple steps skipped over probably.
Feels like you might have missed a couple key points along the way there, but we'll let it slide for now.
It was the beer.
So you guys are obviously all in the same industry, but there are some traits that I think probably transcend each one of your breweries. And so what are like 3 traits that you feel like the brewing industry people have? What are some common traits that you think someone needs to have to be successful in the business?
Number 1, I would say, is you got to have one heck of a work ethic. It's one thing to learn your lessons in the classroom, which are all very practical. And, I've taken away quite a bit from the MBA program that has, helped me along here. But, sometimes things don't go according to plan, and you've got to grind through to make it work. Another thing is that, brewery sounds really sexy, but, it's still a business. And so you've got to be, watching your numbers, knowing your metrics and things like that. And I'm going to leave number 3 to you because I took the top 2.
You have to be willing to learn. There's no one out there that's going to tell you all the health code regulations that are involved, all the paperwork that's involved with running a brewery. You have to be willing to go find that information for yourself and learn about it, or know who to ask to get those questions answered.
So it sounds like hard work and dedication and the willingness to learn even new stuff after you've started. BJ, you guys got anything different to add to that, or do you echo those same responses?
I'm going to have to say persistence, because like last year with COVID, we had to be very flexible and creative on just trying to keep the doors open. And you can't, move with changes in the environment with your clientele and all that, then it's a tough road.
Yeah, I would add to it, make sure you're having fun. That's a big part of what we do in brewing, all the different events we go to and the camaraderie we have between the breweries. Has to be a trait. If you're not having fun, you probably be shunned by the other breweries, honestly.
Okay, so lots of fun coming from Walnut River and CSB. Do you guys have anything?
I would agree with all those statements. I think they covered all the bases. Yeah, and passion for the product, for beer. That's why we got into it. We love to brew beer, but we love the history behind it. And good communication skills with our employees and the patrons that come and visit. We want to show passion in what we're doing and interest, and be able to communicate what we're doing and how we're doing it. And people like to see that. Our employees and patrons want to see that we're having fun doing it, and being able to
share it with everybody with a smile on your face is really important.
Very good advice, guys, for that people need to maybe have, or at least be willing to adapt to be successful in the career. I'm going to toss this to one of you. You guys can decide who answers it. And that is, what do you guys like best about your work day to day?
Just enjoy the people, get to come to work with people that are, our friends outside of work as well every day. And that's what keeps me coming back. And I mean, it doesn't hurt that there's beer on tap when you go to work every day. So
yeah, and then just the process of making beer, the smell of the mash. There's nothing better than that smell of grain being mashed in. So process and just taking raw ingredients and creating something delicious out of it. I mean, that's a lot of fun as well for me.
Very good. Walnut or Augustine, anything to add to that? Any differences? Are you guys all about the people in the beer as well?
Pretty much people in the beer. The one thing, bit of satisfaction that I know I get, and I'm guessing Bianca as well, is just being the real joy and what makes all the work worth it is, seeing our guests, seeing them here, enjoying the beer and having a good time. I'm sure, Walnut and CSB, same thing. We create environments that we want to be in. And I think that that's a real important thing for anybody who's thinking about opening up a brewery. Don't be afraid to do the thing that you want to do, and don't let other people try to pull you in a direction, one direction or another. Do your thing and be smart about it, and you'll have as good of a chance as possible to pull through and be successful.
Very good, very good. Walnut?
For me, my job varies day to day. I'm not back there with the mash tun and canning and all that. And so my day could be, in St. Louis in the market or Wyoming. And then I could be talking to local accounts here, could have a meeting at the poorhouse, and then we're going over numbers with our accountant at the main brewery. So I vary widely in my job, and no 2 days are the same ever. So.
Yep, I have to agree with that. Just knowing that each day is going to be a little bit different is great. It's always a mixture of what's broken or what's working fine. It's a mixture of art and science. Everything is creative, really, from the time you walk in to when you leave. And I really enjoy that aspect.
Obviously, you guys have a passion for your day to day. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be still doing what you're doing. But aside from those things, having the passion and maybe just having some inherent traits, what type of training skills, ideas, methods, what do you guys suggest for someone who's wanting to get into the career of, their own brewery or brewing beer themselves? What type of skills does that individual need to acquire?
I would say really the most important skill, if you want to get into the brewing side of it, is learning all the different styles, knowing your ingredients. And honestly, a lot of that really just comes down to a lot of experience in brewing. So if you want to get into the industry, spend as much time as you possibly can out in the garage and just make batch after batch. Submit your beers to home brewing contests to get feedback from judges. That's the way I started, and the first 10 years I was doing that, I learned a tremendous amount.
And cleaning.
Oh, cleaning, yes.
Yes, that has to be a very good skill, because if you're not good at cleaning, you're not going to be good at brewing.
Yeah, definitely. What Rick and BJ are saying, know what you're doing. Get a nice homebrew kit, something that you can brew repeatable batches on. Join your local homebrewing organization. Wichita, we have the Wichita Homebrewing organization. Andy and I were both members of that for years. So, hang out with people that brew beer, and whether that's definitely locally, but then also online, you can join a lot of good groups and forums and learn and share information with other brewers, and learn your beer styles, learn the history about beer, and get really good at your process by brewing again and again. But meeting people that share the same joy, and so that's super important on the brewing side of learning how to brew a good product. Andy, anything on?
Yeah, on the business side, I mean, learning how to write a business plan, having a decent set of forecasted financials, and those are all things you're going to need to learn to be able to present to investors or lenders. So those are all important skills if you're going to get into it professionally.
Learn how to raise money.
Yeah. Always trying to raise funds. What about Bianca, Augustino Brewing? What about you guys?
I'd say you have to have some analytical skills, whether it's looking at your financials or looking at what happened with your beer, whether it came in on target or not. You need to know how to analyze all of that, because data will lie to you if you don't know how to look at it correctly.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add to that, kind of from more the operational side of things, is learn real. If you're not already kind of a jack of all trades, learn how to be a jack of all trades, because we're in production, which means that things that you need to think outside the box sometimes to fix the things that break when they break, because they will. And so the more just kind of practical skills you're able to develop on top of your academic skills goes a long way in terms of running things operationally in this industry.
Very helpful advice from all of you for people who may be interested in pursuing this. We did mention earlier how all of you have different degrees from your college, from Wichita State, whether that be computer science or entrepreneurship, communication, things like that. What's something that you've learned from your degree program? So while you were at college studying your degree, what's something that you learned that you think has maybe helped you in the brewing industry? Maybe it's something unique that, because you said broadcast journalism, Ian, is there something there that has been unique to CSB that you've been able to use because of that degree?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Elliott School of Communications offered a lot of good programs there as far as communication skills. We use a lot of communication skills in brewing with our staff and with our patrons. So there's a lot of different things that I learned there. I put together videos on and how-tos, and I can see some of that definitely coming through in the brewing side. We have to kind of explain things to patrons and staff of like what it is that we're drinking, flavor profiles, so that our staff can then educate the patrons that are drinking the beer. So, education and telling people what they're doing, what they're drinking is really important, so that they understand and like and appreciate what it is that they're consuming. So I think that I learned a lot, and I use little bits of what I learned in school all the time, just through means of communication.
In the brewing industry, all the equipment associated with production is expensive. And we had a few needs around here that we were able actually to design and build our own equipment. And having that background in computer engineering really helped out. So we were able to create a keg filler and a keg cleaner for a fraction of the cost of new.
That's very cool. Just having the ingenuity to be able to build it yourself. I have none of those skills, so I'm always impressed when people build their own equipment. Anything from Augustino Brewing up there?
Well, we both have business degrees, so I think we're probably both on the same page. It's just for me, the biggest thing that I use out of the MBA program is probably some of the analytical aspects of it. understanding, financial analysis and just finance has been probably our biggest help, especially over the last couple of years. And I don't know what you have to add.
I agree with all of that.
Okay.
I use my accounting degree regularly when I'm meeting with our accountant and reviewing our financials internally, and just going through the P&L and finding errors, and being able to talk intelligently to our accountant and share what we believe the issue may be, and vice versa.
Let's talk a little bit about your mentors. What are some mentors that you've had along the way? Has that been a professor? Is it someone else in the industry? Is it a parent? I mean, who are some of your mentors that have kind of helped influence you and help steer you in the brewing industry?
A person by the name of Lee Cockrell, who was the former executive vice president over operations at the Walt Disney World Resort. Met him several years ago, and he provided me a lot of advice, and took me kind of a little bit under his wing in terms of helping with thinking about not just the brewing aspect of the business, but looking at it in terms of hospitality, in terms of treating people not like they're just customers, not just like they're numbers, but that they are your guests, that they are your guests, and your employees. Really, you should be looking at them as playing a role in your overall operation, kind of like an actor on a stage. And so that's how we try to look at things in terms of our operation with our employees. We think of them as members of our cast, performers on a stage. And so I think that's something that makes us a little bit unique because of that mentorship. I've had so many other mentors along the way that I'd love to talk about, but I think I'll keep it short and sweet.
Thank you very much for that. Any other mentors from Walnut or CSB?
Les Anderson. He was an Elliott School of Communications professor, and he was a teacher, a mentor, a friend, and so I really appreciated all he did for me in the Elliott School, and definitely missed. But he just taught me a lot of things about getting through school and passions that I had, and he knew that I liked to brew beer because I did projects there that kind of focused on that, and so he always pushed me to work as hard as I could to achieve those goals, and so he was always one of those teachers that'll stick out in my head as a good mentor and a good positive role model for me as I was going through school.
Les definitely had an impact in the Elliott School of Communication with a bunch of students and other professors and stuff like that. So Walnut River, or are you guys just trailblazing on your own?
For me, Dr. Dwight Keene was a professor of mine, and I tell you, he was always good at pointing out the holes in your theory, which you need to have those kind of people in your life, because if you've just got yes men all the way down, you're just delusional at that point, really. And so you need people to point those things out, and that's one thing that Rick and Travis and I have been great at, is telling each other exactly what we think. And we don't always like to hear it, trust me, but I think we're stronger for it. And that's kind of learned a lot of that from Dr. Keene. So.
And for me, Augustino and I were actually heavily involved in the Derby Brew Club, and this is Wichita Homebrewers Organization prior to that name change. But whenever I first got involved with them, it was more about learning how to brew, and the people who were active in it at that time were almost all national beer judges, and I was introduced to all types of beers that I never even knew existed. And not just the beers themselves, but the culture behind that. And I can think of guys like David Gray and Stan Holder, who really opened my eyes to that world and made me passionate about it, really.
I think mentors are so important in so many different careers and in life in general. And it's one of those things that really you sometimes got to initiate that conversation with a mentor. You have to reach out and ask someone to be your mentor or just kind of develop that relationship. But for all the students who may be watching, and your professors are an easy mentor to kind of just tap into while you're in school. And for alumni who may be watching this, I would say that mentors can be found, not every time does a mentor have to be older than you. It can be a peer that you can kind of confide in and build relationship with to figure things out. So mentors are a very important part, I think, of furthering your development in any career you choose. So I'm glad that you guys all have mentors that have helped you get down the road and make your career successful. What is something in your career, what's an accomplishment that you're most proud of and why?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is our perseverance. Even when, things got a little rocky and COVID came and hopefully is leaving soon, we stuck through it all, and we worked with that hard work ethic and our ability to analyze problems and data and look at it. We were able to get through everything. So I'm most proud of our perseverance.
Yeah, I would just ditto that. And because one of the things that really tests your mettle in business and life is when the cards get stacked against you. And it happens to everybody, whether you're in business or not in business. When the stakes are against you, when everything looks like it's just washing over you, that's where your character shines through. Is just pushing back, fighting back, doing everything that needs to be done to get through the challenges, and that requires a lot of creative thought, but it also requires just a lot of really hard work and a real passion, which fortunately all the people who are talking to you today, we all bring an amazing passion to this industry, and that's a big part of why we've all got our little niches that we have in the local market, is because we do the day-to-day grind, and the day-to-day grind leads to, for all of us, a whole lot of fun.
CSB, do you guys have any accomplishments that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we participate in Great American Beer Festival, and so now we're almost on 6 years of being open. We've come home with 2 gold medals and a silver medal for some beers. So it's fun getting on a national and international kind of recognition for some beers that we've worked hard on over the years. So that's a nice accolade to take home within the industry, for sure. Just that's an easy one right there. Andy, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a high, getting up on that stage and giving Charlie Papazian a fist bump. Coming from a homebrew background where you're reading the book that kind of like the godfather of homebrew wrote, and getting some acknowledgement from him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and being loved and accepted in our neighborhood, and becoming a place in our city that we love, being a place where people want to come and hang out and bring their family and bring their families and their friends. So becoming a beloved place in town for people to relax and enjoy a beer and enjoy friends really feels good to be an important part of the community.
I love that community impact part that you guys just mentioned. I think you guys all probably do that for the communities that you're in. But thanks for bringing Ian. And what about you guys, Walnut River? What do you guys have for accomplishments that you'd like to share with us?
Well, honestly, I think the nice thing about what we do and on our, in fact, on all of our trucks, it says honesty, integrity, pride, and we mean that. And so as far as an accomplishment in our career, us too, we feel like we've connected with our community in El Dorado and Wichita. We have a restaurant in Wichita as well. But we've done it by not stepping on people on the way up. We've done it correctly. And We haven't shorted anybody. We haven't treated him poorly. Well, I treat Rick poorly occasionally, but we've done it the right way. And so it can be done. It takes a lot longer, but at the end of the day, I still sleep at night knowing that we treat people well. And so, yeah.
I'm quite proud of the fact that we both kind of have the courage to start our own business and build a great team and actually have a very successful business now that we've done ourselves. And after 25 years at a desk job, it was a huge change and pretty scary a lot of days, but we made it, and I think we're quite proud of that.
Do you guys have any advice for students or young alumni who are passionate about pursuing a career in brewing or starting their own brewery? Do you guys have any advice that maybe wasn't mentioned yet, didn't have a chance to talk about, that you really just want to share with students or young alumni?
I would say don't wait. A lot of people think, okay, I'm going to wait till I get my degree before I do this. Don't wait and do that. Jump out there and see if your local brewery needs some help. And everybody starts by washing out carboys and whatnot. Rick made me do that too. But don't wait. And I think I used to tell staff is that every year of your career that you wait is about 2 to 2.5% of your working career. So when you start to think about it in those terms, time is of the essence. So get out there. Don't be afraid.
I would have to add, just stay curious, stay passionate, pursue all your interests in there. If you want to make a beer with really strange ingredients that nobody says is going to work, well, try it anyway. I mean, you might be surprised.
All right, good. CSB?
Hey, reading, and there's tons of resources out there for starting your own brewery, books about it, books about brewing styles. I'm not much of a reader in my personal life, but before opening up the brewery, I was reading every book that I could find on how to open a brewery and how to brew beer to style. So reading and finding those resources is key.
Yeah, definitely. To echo what Andy said, yes, self-education, just really getting into finding your own resources, reading books, brewing beer, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. I mean, it's very possible, and you just need to do it, commit, and go for it. And as BJ was saying, just start now. Offer to help, to volunteer at a brewery, join your local home brewing organization, be passionate about it, start now, and the sky's the limit. You can, it's possible. You just gotta get out there, do it, educate, and don't stop.
Education and continued learning. Augustino?
I'd say utilize the connections that you have in order to learn. Like CSB was talking about, you have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips through the internet and through all your classes and the people that you know and the people that you don't know that you know. So utilize those connections, instructors. That's how I got hired in when I was a student as a financial analyst. Utilize those connections with instructors, utilize the resources at Wichita State, and don't be afraid to talk about what you'd like to do in opening a brewery, because you never know who can create an introduction for you to somebody who could be a wealth of knowledge in getting that business open.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add to that is that, all of us in the industry, probably the one thing that we like to talk about most is about beer. And so we're all very approachable in this field, both with one another and with other people who are interested in the field. We all love talking beer and talking about the nuts and bolts of it. So don't be afraid to take action. Turn off the TV, take action, and commit yourself to being a lifelong learner. and that's going to help you be successful.
Yeah, you guys have all kind of hit on some of the same points where you've got to put in the work and you've got to put in the time to learn what to do and what not to do. And part of it is you just got to go out there and do it. And mistakes are part of that learning process. I have one other follow-up question that I kind of wanted to address. And Bianca, this is for you. I just want to know what advice you might have to offer to other women or our female students who may be wanting to go into a career that is a male-dominated industry, kind of like brewing might be. So do you have any advice for them?
I'd say be passionate, because all the other people in this industry, which is dominated by men, that's true, they're very passionate about beer. And if you don't have passion, you're not going to succeed in whatever industry that you're in. But be passionate about the product and learn about the product. And so you can talk about it intelligently and learn and grow so that you can open your own brewery. I didn't know anything about beer when I met Stino, and he dragged me to Great American Beer Fest. I forget what year it was, but
2004.
2004 apparently. And I just started trying beer because I'd always been a mixed drinker, and I discovered that I loved it, especially dark beer. An imperial stout I'll take any day. And while that kind of made me the belle of the ball with some of the brewers that were there, it arose the passion in me for sharing this experience with my husband and opening our own brewery. I never would have said yes to this if I didn't have passion for beer. So just be passionate, be willing to learn, and you'll go far.
Thank you for the advice. I think that was very well put, and it's about passion, and I love that sentiment that you shared. I think that's everything that I have kind of lined up for today and for today's conversation. I know that there's probably a lot more to be said, a lot more things to share, and we only really just covered the very tip of the iceberg of the brewing industry. But I hope for anyone that's watched along with us today that you guys have learned something. At the very least, you've hopefully learned that it takes hard work and it takes the continued drive to learn more information and not to be afraid to reach out to people who are already in the industry. I think this is safe to say for all of our guests here that they would be willing to take an email, or if you showed up at their spot, they would definitely give you 5 minutes of their time to just chat with you. They'd probably give you longer than that. They'd probably share a beer with you and talk for hours. But I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy days to sit with us and to chat and to share this information for our alumni and for students. So this is just one of our many career chats. And so we have a variety of career chats from social workers to HR professionals to now this brewery industry talk here. So make sure to check out all those videos. You can stay up to date and connected with the Alumni Association at our website, which is shockeralumni.org. And be on the lookout for all the amazing things our alumni do, such as this group and many others. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.